Are we really geared up for this? Are we wearing festive accoutrement?
Look, I'm wearing red. That's as much as you're gonna get out of me. Okay?
Hi, I'm the 17th rewatch of A Christmas Carol, and it's not even December. Jenny.
And I'm the Grinch who hates Christmas so much she didn't even want to steal it, Lily. And welcome to Lesbianswers.
Have you got LGBT questions? Because we've got Lesbianswers.
What are we talking about today, Jenny?
Today we're just doing one we think was going to help people, and we're going to talk about how to survive the holidays.
Yes. So we've mentioned Christmas in our intro, but
Have we?
But obviously this relates to any holiday that you spend with family, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's Hanukkah, whether it's Kwanzaa, whether it's Eid. Anytime that you have to go back and spend time with family and there's some form of enforced jollity going on, it can be really difficult for some people. And we wanted to give you some of our tips for dealing with that stressful situation. So
what are some of the minefields that you find hardest about the holidays?
one of the biggest problems is even if you're still living at home, you're still living with family, your routine completely changes. So you'll be used to being out all day at school or at work or whatever you're doing, and then suddenly everything shuts down because it's the holidays, and these people who you might see once or twice a day or less, suddenly you have to spend all day with them. And that gets even worse once you move out and then you have to go back to your parents for Christmas, because you get used to having that level of freedom, that level of control of your life, and suddenly that's gone. You're not deciding when you eat, you're not deciding what you eat, you're not deciding what your activities are for every day. If you've moved away, you can lose your ability to get yourself to different places, to make your plans, to see people, and you go from this massive amount of freedom, or at least a different situation, a different scenario, to being in this really claustrophobic situation with people who know you too well. And it can be difficult for a family to allow their adult or teen children to grow up. And so going back to family can feel like being put back into a place. I'm in my late 20s, and when I go back to see my parents still, sometimes it feels like I'm back at being 14. But when you're treated like you're 14, you start acting like you're 14, and that's humiliating, and it's horrible, and it's not fun for anyone, and that can make the holidays really difficult.
So for me, I think the main issues I have around the holidays are for those relatives that I don't see very often, the ones that I see just at Christmas. My day-to-day life, I'm surrounded by excellent people who know my sense of humour and who know how much I swear, and I find it really hard to stop that when I'm suddenly surrounded by relatives and small children.
For me, and I know this frustrates you about me, I talk a lot in quotes and references.
Yes.
And so I'm holding up my end of the conversation, but other people have no idea what I'm on about. So yeah, you get used to communicating in very specific ways with the people who are in your day-to-day life, and then you go back to a family situation where there are people who love you, but the version of you they know is this very cherry-picked, out-of-date version, and you just find yourself completely unable to communicate or connect. So for me, one of the key things that makes the holidays hard is that I'm used to a significant amount of alone time. So I make sure to carve out significant proportions of time that I can spend alone, whether that's reading alone in my room, whether that's spending some time crafting, whether that's going out for a walk on my own, making sure I safeguard a certain amount of time to spend by myself is absolutely necessary to my continued functioning as a somewhat pleasant human being.
When I'm at home with my immediate family, we have a reasonable scheduling amongst ourselves. We do spend a significant portion of time sitting in the same room on separate devices, just going, hey, did you see this cool thing? Or Mum, do you want to come over here and I'll show you this video?
Right.
Which means we get that semi-alone time.
Yeah. But you find ways to recharge yourself And this is particularly hard for introverts, who are people who are recharged by spending time alone, and extroverts who recharge by spending time with others will find it easier, because extroverts take in energy through social interaction. Introverts expend energy through social interaction. But if you're an introvert like me and you need to recharge that energy, make sure you carve out whatever time you can to spending alone and recharging, doing the things that will build you up.
Find that person that's sympathetic to you, that actually gets it.
The person who sees you, and not just sees you, but like who looks at you and really makes you feel seen and makes you feel heard, and who allows you to be your entire soul.
Find that amazing person and sit down and explain to them, if they don't already like definitively know, sit down and explain to them that, hey, like, we're going to go and see all our family tomorrow for Christmas Eve, and it's going to be a lot, and I haven't seen some of these people in a while, and this is basically going to be a room full of strangers, and I might need to tap out. You've got that person who's going to go, oh, they just nipped out for 5 minutes, they'll be back.
Yeah. Having someone who you know is on your side and who you know gets it can be really life-saving.
And they can help make excuses for you or divert attention.
Yeah.
Whatever you need.
Yeah. Or sometimes, particularly if you're an anxious sort of person, you can come up with a signal, which means, help me, I need you to get me out of this situation, and then they can come rescue you. Another thing that I find really helpful, just in terms of mindset, is this is not permanent. Christmas always feels like it goes on forever and ever for me. And I know there are people for whom it's the opposite and it's never long enough. But for me, Christmas Day is 100 years long. And mostly it is 100 hard years long. So trying to keep in mind, this is not permanent. This too shall pass. And that makes it easier to get through. Because you can do anything as long as you know there's an end in sight. And the end is in sight.
Oh, now that is a thing to have to deal with. Dietary requirements for Christmas.
Yes. It can be really helpful to offer to provide the vegetarian option or the vegan option or the celiac option or whatever your dietary requirements are. It can be really nice to offer to provide that.
If you're young enough that that's not an option, then listen in to when your parents are having the discussion with the aunts and uncles and so on of when they're coming over, and just like go, Mum, remind them that I'm vegetarian, or Mum, can we remember to bring lactose-free milk?
Yes. The other thing you can do is present solutions, not problems. Say, hey, I found this recipe. Can we make this as an alternative to turkey for me, please? People like solutions. People don't like problems.
Or have it as a chance to like try cooking for yourself.
Yeah.
Which I personally love. Not only are you giving them the solution, but you're also taking away any responsibility for like them having to do stuff.
But demonstrating that you've put in the work really makes people be more likely to be on side with you. And people like that. Should we talk about pressure to have fun?
Yes, because I don't understand this. So yes.
No, go on. Why don't you understand it?
I think as with my family, no one really cares if you opt out of an activity.
Right. Okay.
For a good reason.
Right.
My mum doesn't want to help make up the Lego Christmas decorations.
That's fair, because she doesn't like Lego.
She doesn't like Lego.
I think this is a difference between our families.
Yeah.
Your family is really low-key and chill. I am a hysterical person who has no chill, and I absolutely get that genetically from every aspect of my family. No one in my family has any chill. All of us are hysterical beasts. Try not to put pressure on yourself or others to have fun or to perform having fun, because it sounds so relaxing and restful, the idea of having that chill family Christmas where people just kind of do their thing.
There is like a reasonable expectation in my family that we'll all be in the same room. Mm-hmm. But if you need alone time, then you just like nip along to your room for a second and then say, oh sorry, I got distracted, when it's been an hour.
Yeah.
And also we now have like a new very, very small person in our family, so they have 100% of all the Christmas attention. So what you really need to do, I think, just to survive the whole holidays, is have a relative have a child.
Are you saying I should get pregnant and then next Christmas will be less painful?
I'd say your entire life will be slightly more, like, it might be more joyous, but there'll be more stress and everything. What you should be doing is trying to get one of your relatives pregnant, to have a child.
Okay.
Then that child now has all the attention, and no one cares about you anymore, essentially.
That sounds restful. So we spoke at the beginning of the episode about the fact that one of the things that makes it difficult is that you don't have as much control over your life as you might normally be used to.
I think like reframing a lot of the things that you want to have as choices helps. Hey, I'm wanting to go and do some knitting. You turn to a young cousin and go like, would you like to learn?
Mm-hmm. Or do you want to help me wind yarn? Because often young children really enjoy winding yarn with you.
Okay. It's not that you've gone away to be alone with your yarn. It's that you're entertaining your younger cousins.
Yeah.
Isn't she a good person? I think that needs to be a whole separate point of like how to deal with usually older relatives being dicks.
Yeah.
A lot of it is unfortunately choose your battles.
If someone makes a racist joke or a queer-phobic joke,
You explain it.
Yeah. So they say something horrendous and you just go, I don't get it. Can you explain? I don't understand.
Yeah. Until they get to that level, they have to explain to you that, well, it's because gay people are terrible.
Yeah. It's funny because no real man would want to have sex with another man. But I don't get it because gay men exist.
There's a corporate phrase that I picked up at work, which unfortunately I really like, living your authentic self. And if I'm not actively making shitty queer jokes,
Terrible puns about being a
terrible
lesbian.
puns about vegetarians, especially when it's at Christmas and I have to remind everyone that I'm vegetarian and I just want to say vegetarian so much. You feel slightly lessened, slightly sad.
Yeah. It feels like I'm lying when I have to be less gay.
I am a terrible liar.
Same.
Just shit at it. And I'm not good at remembering things either, which means that an entire evening of having to constantly censor myself. Who here knows that I'm gay? Who here knows that I'm specifically pansexual? Who here knows that I currently have a girlfriend? It's way too much concentration for me, which is one of the reasons that, and again, it helps that I have a mostly brilliant family. I'm just out. What helps for me is to have Skype chats with my friends.
Texting. We text the most ludicrous, ridiculous stuff to each other, and it helps so much with surviving the straits.
Yeah, and I think...
So, overall, how should people survive the holidays?
Find your allies. Talk to your friends.
Carve out alone time. Do what you need to do to recharge and rebuild up your soul and your energies.
Try to find ways of making what you want to do and your control of your life include the other people so they think it's not you being selfish. And if nothing else, singing Christmas carols at 110% volume drowns out the sadness in your life.
Alright guys, have a great week. Make good choices.
And as usual, if you have any questions, you can email us, lesbianswers@gmail.com. You can send them to us on Twitter @lesbianswers. You can follow our Instagram @lesbianswers. And you can use the hashtag lesbianswers on pretty much any other social media, and we will be watching.
Yeah. And have a great week. Make good choices, and we will see you next week. Bye! If you're watching this and you're 14, I'm really sorry, but 14-year-olds are assholes. And it's not your fault. You can't help being 14, but you just have to power through it to be a decent person again afterwards.